Welcome back to Championship Weekend edition of the Marty&Party podcast with special guest. I've lost count on how many times.
I'm just real special, man.
By a very special guest to my right, Brian Dow. Pat's covering his face.
And to my right,
are we not allowed to say his name is Brian?
We got Party.
And we got Party on the other side.
Party on my right.
And the Party's on Dowdow's right somehow. I mean, he's directly in front of us, but let's go on. So we're going to talk some championship weekend. Usually we end the show with best bets, but because we're talking the games right away, we're going to get right into best bets. Then we're going to move on to who I think was the best coaching hire, and I'm going to ask the boys how they feel about it. And then from there, we're going to do a little review of the Titans season this year, what I hope they do in the offseason, and, maybe a farewell send-off to Arthur Smith on his promotion, where he's going to be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And then last, we're going to talk about probably the biggest story of the offseason. I think it's going to be tough to beat, where a top 5 quarterback in Deshaun Watson is pretty much requesting a trade. So we're going to go over that, possible landing spots, possible return. But let's dive right in.
It's the Marty&Party podcast, presented by 4011 Sports.
So let's get right to the championship weekend, where you have Kansas City. We're going to start with Kansas City versus Buffalo. Kansas City coming in, I believe, as a 3-point favorite at home. This is a game that I see going only one way, and I see it going as an absolute beatdown, where Kansas City is going to throw it, run it, do everything that they want to this Buffalo defense, which is below average. And the Buffalo offense, I would project, is going to struggle a bit. They struggled mightily against Baltimore. They were bailed out by the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, really just kind of not taking over the game like everyone said he would. And
3 points.
Yeah, 3 points.
That's it, right?
3 points on the second half drive. But I think Buffalo don't really understand why their spread is this close. What do you guys think about this game?
I think it's because of the superb play we've seen from Josh Allen. The guy is, quite frankly, a beast, at least this year. He's made a leap that, you don't really see. His leap has been almost as drastic as Carson Wentz's decline. So that should put it into perspective, right? So his completion percentage has gone up 10 points this year. He's the second player in NFL history to throw for 30 touchdowns and rush for 8. That's the only reason. But their lack of run game is going to be their downfall.
Yeah, the team's good. They're almost there, but they're not there yet to compete with the Chiefs. I think that this could be potentially a matchup you're going to see for a very long time in the AFC. Bills, Chiefs, Patty Mahomes, Josh Allen. But the Chiefs, easy this week.
Yeah, I don't understand how it's 3 points. Getting on to Buffalo a little bit more, I think this is the first and last time you're going to see this team in the AFC Championship. I don't think – I like Josh Allen a lot. I don't see him as that talent that is like a Patrick Mahomes, where he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in football. I think he'll settle around top 10 for a bit, maybe a year or two. But I don't see his accuracy being able to hold up long term. Guys just don't go from 59% completion percentage to 67 and then stay there. You have 16 games a year. And as much as I love Josh Allen, I love him because of his athleticism and his big arm. The accuracy has never been something that you can confidently say is going to be there.
If they keep Brian Daboll, their offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach this year, who was a hot coaching candidate, not sure why he's cooled down now, but if he stays in Buffalo, I think there's a shot we're going to see Mahomes Allen often. Maybe not in the championship, but we'll see it in the playoffs.
And also that division is about to get a lot better with Miami
Yeah,
to be
I think so.
a serious team, and New
So
England will
Party
be there.
was trying to tell me how maybe Mahomes Allen is the next. What'd you say, Manning Brady?
Manning Brady.
I don't see
I was
that.
like, no way, dude. The AFC East is way better now
I see
than any time than Tom Brady was there.
I see a quarterback that we're going to talk about a little bit later as the Manning to that whole rivalry with Deshaun Watson. I think when we get to it, where his landing spot is could really determine his basically his legacy in the NFL. So I'm going to go on a limb and say that the boys would agree that Kansas City -3 is the safe bet.
Yep.
I think
You could even outline that if you want.
I actually have already outlined it. I moved it to a -9.5. I like this game a lot. I got it, I think, -9.5 at +210. I don't think this game is going to be close. I think that everything Buffalo does good, Kansas City does better. And Buffalo isn't the same Buffalo team as last year where they played this lockdown defense. Their defense has taken a considerable step back, just like the Titans kind of did. They're kind of a very a carbon copy of the Tennessee Titans, where what was good last year is bad, and what was bad last year is all of a sudden good. I don't think that Kansas City has taken any steps back this year. Their offense is still incredible. I don't know who's going to be able to keep up with Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman for an entire 4 quarters. And I can promise you that going into halftime, the score is not going to be 3-6.
This should be a fun game. I think it'll be fun.
So let's move on to Tampa Bay versus Green Bay. We didn't actually talk a lot about this game before we went on the podcast, but I'm going to come out and say I like Green Bay a lot in this game. Aaron Rodgers is just pound for pound at this point in his career a better quarterback than Tom Brady. Devontae Adams is pound for pound going to be the best wide receiver in this game.
Easy.
And as much as I'd like to see Tampa Bay win because of my friend to my right having a good amount of money on the line,
Plus 3,500.
if they win the Super Bowl, I do think that this is where their little road ends. In Green Bay, it's going to be 24 degrees outside, possible snow. Aaron Rodgers has played in this kind of weather more than probably anyone besides the guy he's across the field with, but the rest of that Tampa Bay team is not going to be used to the cold. So I think Green Bay is an easy pick here. I thought they were the easiest pick of the week last week, and I hit on that, and that one was, I think, at -6.5, and I didn't really even realize why it was that close. What do you guys think about this game?
So, what was it? When's the last time they played? Week 5, when Green Bay absolutely dismantled them? Well, it was by 28 points. It was
Wrong
like
way.
38-10.
Wrong way. Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay destroyed them 38-10.
Oh,
The
my
Packers lost.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening again. I don't see it. So, first of all, you saw it a little when the Packers played the Titans towards the end of the season. A.J. Dillon is a force when it's cold outside. He is a big physical running back, and, at some point you're not going to want to tackle him, right? Tom Brady, he is looking to become the second player in, the 4 major professional sports to appear in 10 championship, games or series other than LeBron James. So that's a big feat. But I just think Aaron Rodgers is a man on a mission. Drafting Jordan Love was probably the best move the Packers ever made because, it just turned back the clock for Aaron Rodgers a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay is good. I just don't think they're good enough. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers has been playing on another level this year. I just don't see them having another stinker.
No, and the way Tampa Bay played against New Orleans last week, they were pretty much lucky to walk away with a win if Jared Cook doesn't fumble it and a couple other gaffes happen.
I think
They're
you
not in this game.
could definitely argue that the Saints' defense is better than the Packers' defense.
It's arguable, but it's certainly also Green Bay's offense is the second best offense in football, besides from Kansas City on the other side.
Yeah, I don't know if Todd Bowles is up to that task.
And who knows if he is? I think there's 3 other head coaching job positions still open. He might be getting a call if he does figure out this Green Bay team.
That would be interesting. But, this line is also 3, right?
Yep.
We like the favorite, obviously, in Green Bay. But if you're looking for something a little more, fun, a prop bet maybe, I would think about, my boy Leonard Fournette. So he has, in 5 career playoff games, 6 touchdowns. So, and there's only 1 game that he's played in that he hasn't scored a touchdown. That was his first playoff game. I think Leonard Fournette, anytime touchdown score, plus 150. I think that's some good odds for something that I think will for sure happen.
And the other prop bet I like this week is if you combine both scores, both under-overs this week, the over 104 seems very doable. Green Bay and Tampa Bay could easily put up 60 points combined together. And Kansas City themselves against this Buffalo defense is due for 31 to 40 points. So right there, without even including Buffalo's score, you're already basically covering. One last thing about the Green Bay-Tampa Bay game. I want to see how you guys think it's going to go. It's going to be a really interesting game with 2 quarterbacks that are obviously first ballot Hall of Famers. Do you think that we're going to see a lot of throws, or do you think Tom Brady is going to revert back to almost the game management role he's taken some of these times, where it's a significant amount of handoffs and then short yardage first downs by Tom Brady? How do you think that they're going to attack this game?
I think the game plan you just laid out for Tampa Bay is exactly what the Packers are going to do. I think they're going to try to run the ball, throw it when they need to. I think the Bucks are going to come out passing. I think that where the Saints and Packers differ, right? So I think the Saints have a better secondary and the Packers have a better pass rush. Mm-hmm. So if I'm, Tampa Bay coach Bruce Arians, I would try to get the ball out of his hands fast, negate that pass rush, and get into your talented receivers. Jair Alexander is a great corner, but he can only cover 1 guy.
Yes. So let's get on to the next part. The best coaching hire of the year. Now, we did rank the best landing destinations for coaches, and I think that we got it right on the head. I believe we had the New York Jets at the number 1 spot. And I think the New York Jets cashed in on the best hire this year. I know it wasn't the biggest name out there, which was obviously Urban Meyer over to Jacksonville. But this is a guy that I didn't think too much about with the Jets in connection, because I thought the Jets needed somebody to straighten up the ship. And then from there, 3 years later, you can hire, that fancy coach. But what did the Jets do? They skipped a whole step, and they go out and get Robert Saleh, did I say his name right?
Yeah.
I said his name right.
Or it's Saleh.
This guy is a huge energy guy.
He's a football coach.
Basically, the polar opposite of what Adam Gase is. Adam Gase seemed like this low energy, I'm smarter than you, do what I say, 35-year-old running back, I'm going to give it to him, ignore star power, and I'm going to figure out a second-year quarterback and make him the best. And Saleh seems like he's the guy that's going to come out and he's just going to get these guys fired up. Who cares that you were 2-14 last year, where it's a new year, this division's ours for the taking. Do I see the Jets competing for the division next year or the following year? No. Do I see the Jets taking a big turnaround? Yes. I think everything about this guy screams good culture, and that is exactly what a team like the New York Jets need after basically 2 years of incompetence and another Todd Bowles era before that, which was just simply boring football. What do you guys think?
I love it. I was very excited when we got him. Robert Saleh's been on my radar for a bit. he's done a good job in San Fran, but I always thought maybe it was because of that, a lot of star power on that defense, loaded D-line, a lot of first-round picks invested into that defense, but I think he did his best job there this past year when, everyone was hurt from COVID. Everyone got hurt and other players opted out due to COVID, right? And these were mainly backups that he was coaching, and they played hard every week. And they won games they had no business winning, according to the experts, right? And I think it's because he is a leader of men. He can inspire hope, confidence, and that's really what Jets fans are looking for, and I think players too. The response on social media has been overwhelmingly positive.
What do you think, Pat? Or Party, as we say on the show.
Yeah, Saleh was definitely the best hire. I absolutely hated Urban Meyer to Jacksonville. I don't think he's going to be able to coach grown men after coaching basically kids for all of his career. Arthur Smith to Atlanta, I didn't really particularly like either. I didn't really like any other coaching hire besides Saleh to the Jets.
Yeah, so far it's been pretty underwhelming. Arthur Smith to Atlanta.
The Lions one really confused me. The Dan Campbell from Miami, their tight ends / assistant head coach, he is now the head coach of the Lions.
And which
Interesting.
Leaves Eric Bieniemy still floating around. Doug Peterson still floating around.
Doug Peterson's not
I don't think he's going to get a job right
think he
now.
will.
But, for Brian
Not
Dable
this
and
year.
Eric Bieniemy, I think it's because of that rule, right? You can't hire someone or interview someone if they're still in the playoffs. So the NFL has actually changed that rule, like this week. So I believe Brian Dable had an interview, and Eric Bieniemy has one lined up as well, even though they're playing.
with Houston.
That's got to be, and we already ranked Houston the worst spot. As for the Urban Meyer hiring, I don't think it's a bad hiring. The Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a team.
I think they're going for Flash, man.
2 years
They're
removed.
trying to fill seats.
They're 2 years removed from the NFL Players Association suing them and leaving a letter suggesting to players that they not sign there because of how poorly they're treated.
That was Tom Coughlin. He is gone.
But this is a team that is, looking for some kind of leadership that is a big name. Now, you're not going to be able to pull a successful coach away from their current team. You're not going to go hire Bill Belichick, from his current team. So you have to get creative and you have to start looking at college coaches. Now, is Dabo Sweeney going to leave Clemson for you? No. I don't think Rule is not Rule. The guy who is running Oklahoma.
Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley. I don't think Lincoln Riley is going to scurry out of his chair to take over a 1-15 team. So what do? You hire the biggest name guy who's currently not employed, and that's Urban Meyer. You paid him a boatload. Oakland basically did the same thing a couple years ago with John Gruden. I don't think it's the best hiring, but I certainly think it's a shot in the arm of what you need. I don't know how Urban Meyer is going to translate into the NFL. First of all, he hasn't coached in 4 or 5 years. And second of all, he's not going to have the best roster on the field every single game like he's used to. But nonetheless, I do think that Saleh was the best hiring. And now we're going to get on to my favorite part of the show. Since we have missed 2 weeks where we missed the farewell to the Tennessee Titans this season. All in all, I think it was a successful season. You had shown your offense can stay as good as they were, which obviously proves that the Ryan Tannehill contract was worth every penny. Derrick Henry becoming the 8th player in NFL history to reach 2,000 yards rushing was also a wonderful accomplishment. And A.J. Brown reaching 1,000 yards receiving after, actually it just turns out that he wasn't even supposed to play after week 2. He had surgery on both of his knees just a couple days ago.
That's a football player.
And he toughed it out for the season. But let's get into what I think they need to do this offseason. It's We'll obviously revisit it as it's going on because the Tennessee Titans are going to be in one of the more interesting off seasons because this team is as close as you can get to being a Super Bowl contender without making the Super Bowl. But let's talk about some players that are going to be potential free agents this year. Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, Desmond King, Jadeveon Clowney, and Daquan Jones. This pass rush was terrible. The Tennessee Titans forked up $12 million for Jadeveon Clowney and another $9 million for Vic Beasley and got a combined 1 sack out of both of them. I don't have a problem with bringing back Jadeveon Clowney this offseason. I think you have an added athleticism there. Do I think he's going to get close to $12 million? No. I think he's probably going to get paid around $7 or $8 million over 4 years. And a $32 million contract for 4 years for Jadeveon Clowney seems like a pretty good get. I'm perfectly fine if I'm going to pay Jadeveon Clowney on one side of the ball to let a guy like Corey Davis leave. It's not a fun decision to say, hey, I'm going to take a 980-yard receiver and let him walk, but this is a game with a salary cap, and you can't keep every single player. You have to be comfortable that you have A.J. Brown on one side. You have to be comfortable that you have Adam Humphries, who really you can't cut. I know a lot of people say, hey, well, why don't we cut him? It's $5 million in dead cap if you cut him. He's getting paid $6.7. You're going to save $1.7 million cutting a guy? That doesn't make any sense. So you have to be comfortable with him on the other side. And then you have other guys. You have, draft picks that you could use. You have Khalif Raymond and a couple other guys that stepped up. And although Corey Davis will be a big miss, is he really the difference between an 11-win season and a 13-win season? No. You have A.J. Brown on one side. You're perfectly safe letting him walk. Jonnu Smith, on the other hand, I think is imperative to bring back. You don't get tight ends that have that kind of receptions production. He is getting better every single year, and I would hate to let him go and see him continue to produce somewhere else and continue to develop somewhere else, even though you spent the first 2 years of his career really toughing it out.
You know who he reminds me of? Greg Olson.
He's interesting. It's
in Chicago, he was good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was improving every year, right? And he became a free agent. They just let him walk. He goes to Carolina, becomes one of the best tight ends in the game.
Yeah,
don't want that to happen.
You don't want to let him go. And then the last guy on this list is Desmond King. Now, I like Desmond King a lot. They say that he's going to get paid around $6.9 million is what his calculated market value is. I'm on the fence about him because, one, Malcolm Butler had an outstanding season. Two, you still have Adoree Jackson coming back. And are you really going to pay a cornerback $7 million to be your 3? And not just say, okay, well, we have Rocker or we have Sims. We have other guys that aren't as good, obviously, but are going to come in at a much less cost, because every dollar you save when you let Corey Davis go, when you let Desmond King go, you can move all those funds directly into pass rush. This is a team with 19 sacks last year. This is a team that lost games because they couldn't get to the pass rusher. If they could get to the quarterback, that game against the Browns they would have won. The game against the Bengals they would have won easily. And there was a lot of games that they had to squeak out against teams like Jacksonville, teams like the Texans, teams like the Vikings, where their offense had to put up 35 points because their pass rush could not get to the quarterback. They were a statistical anomaly when you look at how much points their offense scored, and then their defense was equally as bad on the other side. I think that the pass rush is the main thing they need to address this offseason. And you're looking at $30 to $35 million you're going to have to spend a year to address this problem because it is that bad. What do you guys think?
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right. The Titans absolutely need to sign. Tight end's name again? Jonnu
Jonnu
Smith. Jonnu Smith, yeah. He absolutely needs to get signed. Both, if he doesn't sign, I guarantee you he's going to New England. They'll find a way to tell him something, get him for some cheap, and he's going to produce just as well. I would like to keep Corey, but if he's cost too much money, then I don't see a need to keep him when he's not even the number one on your team. You can't pay him number one money as the number two.
No, and it's sad with Corey Davis because this falls on John Robinson, the general manager of the Tennessee Titans. This is the second year in a row he didn't pick up the fifth-year player option, and this is the second year in a row that the team is going to be worse because of it. When they didn't pick up Jack Conklin's option, and then he turns around and uses the first-round pick this year on Isaiah Wilson instead of a potential pass rush, that's where you went wrong. That these problems happen 2 years in a row, and as much as I love John Robinson and everything he's done with the Titans, this early trigger to not take a fifth-year option and just pass and give a guy one more year to develop is insane. Corey Davis was coming off a good year. They absolutely should have picked up his option last year, and they should have never put themselves in this issue. But here we are. They put themselves in another poor issue. I've seen people project wide receivers going to the Titans in the first round. Stop it. They're not going to let Corey Davis go to save, $5 to $6 million and then turn around and just draft another wide receiver in the first round that's unproven. They'll be fine to just go with 2 and 3 guys or sign someone for a bargain price in the offseason. And like I said, it's going to cost you about $35 million this offseason to address the pass rush. I really think, you can say that that's a high amount, but that's exactly what it's going to cost when you talk about, you literally need to overhaul every position on that besides from Simmons and Landry. Everything else needs to go. The guys that are somewhat productive there can stay, but they're going to be coming off the bench. They're not going to be your primary pass rushers. You got to have more than 19 sacks. And it does look like the Titans are going to hire a defensive coordinator, so hopefully that helps when it gets the decision-making out of Coach Vrabel's hands, who I think has done a good job with the culture on the team. I think he's done a bad job with actually hands-on decisions. But let's get to the last part of this. This is the biggest story in the offseason. I hope we only have to talk about it once because I hope everything gets resolved fairly soon because it has a lot of weight on what's going to go on in the NFL. But Deshaun Watson's newfound distaste for the Houston Texans is going to make things interesting and is going to potentially give a few NFL franchises the opportunity to turn their rebuild into warp speed. So obviously the two main contenders for Deshaun Watson, this is just rumors, you don't know where they're actually going to be with this, is the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Both teams I'm not in love with him going to. I think with the New York Jets, they have a lot of pieces to fill, and they finally have draft capital to address the defensive side of the ball, the offensive side of the ball, and there shouldn't be a rush. You have 2 more years of control on Sam Darnold. There shouldn't be a rush on getting him out of the building. Just give him the chance to prove himself this year and the next year, and then go. If he's not the one, at least you have a good team around him. If you go out and give up all your picks for Deshaun Watson and all your draft capital, and you're basically putting pause on every other positional group on your team, and you're just saying, okay, well, we're going to have a good quarterback. And good quarterbacks don't equal everything. Deshaun Watson was 4-12 last year. What do you think about the Jets getting him?
I think it's intriguing. I mean, the Robert Saleh hiring was a good sign for Sam Darnold staying again for, another season with the Jets. So they're bringing in Mike LaFleur, who's been a Kyle Shanahan disciple since 2014, right? He runs, a very similar West Coast style offense like his brother and mentor, right? Matt LaFleur and Kyle Shanahan does, and that's a perfect fit for Sam Darnold's skill set, right? That's what he ran at USC when he was a superstar, and they believe that there is untapped potential there. That being said, it's not often you get a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the sport just available in his prime. And it's not like you have to worry about signing him either. He's signed. And if you're the Jets, you can absorb his contract and have about 45, 55 million in cap to still play around with. The main issue, the main barrier with getting Deshaun Watson would be draft pick compensation. Like you said, Marty, right? I'm not comfortable giving up like 4 first-round picks, mortgaging my future for this guy. You know why? You're going to end up in the exact same situation Houston is in right now. They had the quarterback, but they don't have anything else.
You
right?
would, look be in a worse position than Houston.
Yeah.
Because you would have Houston, at least not this year, but next year has a chance out to get out. If the Jets give up 2 years worth of first-round picks, which is what I think is going to take from the Jets to get them, now they have to wait basically 3 years to get any other positional player of value.
Yeah, I mean, they have needs. They have a need at wide receiver. They still need help on the O-line. They need help at running back, cornerback, linebacker, D-line, right? Getting a quarterback doesn't make this go away. Sure, if they win, it masks some of it, but if they don't, then Houston is a dumpster fire, a joke.
What do you think about Deshaun Watson?
I looked into it. I think out of the two, Miami's definitely a smarter option for him to go, just based on where the team is. I don't think that it's smart for them to take Deshaun Watson. I don't think the team around him is good enough to lead them to a Super Bowl. And we just talked about how the Jets would have to give up a ton of draft capital. Dolphins would have to do the same thing. So I don't see him going to either of those teams. I'm not sure if I see him staying in the AFC.
Who would take him in the NFC?
I'd have to go through all the names.
It's tough because
Detroit.
Bears, maybe. Ooh, Detroit. You get a Stafford, Watson kind of swap going on.
They have the compensation to get him.
The Lions have, what, the 7th pick in the draft?
The nice thing about the Jets and Miami is they have 2 first-round picks together this year, and both of them have inside top 5 picks.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you're Houston, right? Like, you may not have a lot of options.
Oh, you have the option of keeping him.
I mean, I think he'll just hold out.
He's under contract for 5 years.
4 or 5 more years.
He can hold out.
Think about how hard it'll be to get anyone to come to your team, free agent, coach, or whatever, when you're like, okay, yeah, our quarterback doesn't want to play.
Well, here's a grand idea.
They're gonna hire.
Have him be in the decision for hiring a coach. You can't if you're the Texans, you can't pretend like he's not above the average player.
Bro, they promised him.
He just signed what?
They
$200
literally told him. He said, "Okay, after this whole mess with Bill O'Brien, I want to be involved." And they're like, "Okay, we promise you. When we're getting a GM, you'll be involved. We want your input. When we get a coach, you'll be involved. We want your input." He goes to vacation in Mexico. They hire a GM without talking to him.
Another New England Patriot.
Another New England Patriot guy,
doesn't like.
and he definitely doesn't like that.
And then
so to him, it's just a slap in the face.
They're gonna hire
right? And
Eric
it all
Bieniemy
seems to be
him.
this
They're
guy, Jack Easterby. He was he a Patriot at some point? I don't know.
Probably. Sounds like a Patriot.
He went from like team chaplain to some executive position, and apparently he causes a lot of issues in that organization. And if I'm Deshaun Watson, you have all this leverage, use it, and he is. So I think Houston's going to have to trade him.
Yeah,
they're going to sign Eric Bieniemy to keep him. They're going to hire Eric Bieniemy.
I
think that makes it fine.
If they wanted to keep him, they wouldn't have let it get this far. I think he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think these two teams make sense, though. The Dolphins make slightly more sense, but here's the thing with the Miami Dolphins. You have spent the last 3 years perfectly rebuilding your franchise. You've been patient.
You're right. You're 2/3 of the way of executing a perfect plan.
You've been patient. You've been smart. You've hit on most of your picks. You've hit on your coaching hire. You hit on your GM search. You hit on your trades. You gave up a left tackle, and you basically got a top 20 pick and then I think it's the 4th pick in the draft. You have done everything perfectly. now's not the time to get anxious. Now's not the time to say, I'm impatient. You went, I think they had 10 wins this year, 10 and 6.
They have the third pick.
You have the third pick in the draft.
Because of the Texans.
If you're not sold on Tua, I don't blame you. But he was a rookie this year. You continue to build around Tua at least 2 or 3 more years.
Honestly, get a number 1 receiver right there. Just do it.
Go get the
Devonta Smith, Jamar Chase, somebody.
Go
get
Go get what's the guy's name from Florida?
Kyle Pitts.
Pitts.
That's the tight end. There's Tony.
Tony.
No, he's not talking about quarterbacks.
You have a mid-20 pick or something like that. You can go and get a first-round wide receiver.
You can get a running back there too.
You can do everything you want to do, and if you're not sold on Tua, there's another quarterback that's going around. That's compensation is going to be close to nothing in Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
Go get him. Go get Carson Wentz. There's going to be quarterbacks all the time that fall out of favor with their teams. If you don't like Tua, I would be shocked if you gave up on Tua after 1 year. I think that's wrong. I don't think it's correct for a quarterback development. Josh Rosen hasn't gotten his feet on the ground since. I think it's a big mistake. But I also don't think a franchise that has done everything right up until this moment is going to make a decision that helps them in the short term and not the long term.
I agree. It's going to be very interesting following this.
Yeah,
I think it's by far the most intriguing storyline we've had in an NFL offseason in a while.
Yeah, there's no home
It's got to be
run.
like a decade, man.
There's no home run for Deshaun Watson because of the compensation. I can see the Jets doing it more than I can see Miami doing it because the Jets have literally nothing going for them. And they could use just a superstar talent in their city. But besides that, it's real tough.
You said at the beginning, too, Deshaun Watson could kick your rebuild into warp drive.
He could.
Warp speed. It could. That's the thing. And you have to evaluate your team, what you have, your staff, your personnel, and decide if, hey, this is a gamble I'm going to take.
Yeah, 4,800.
How old is he? 24, 25?
25. 4,800 yards, 70% completion percentage with the 33-7 touchdown there.
How many rushed for, too?
He rushed, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. 3 rushing touchdowns, too. So he certainly is a top echelon quarterback. Does it make sense to give up the world for him when you potentially have one sitting in your garage?
I thought of a team that also might want him. I actually think would be genius. Minnesota.
It comes down to you still have to give up stuff for him.
No, if they can do a swap with Kirk Cousins and each basically eat the other's deal. It's not a.
You'd have to throw. I mean, I would do Kirk in a first for Deshaun.
Even
in a
Kirk,
heartbeat.
Maybe Kirk in 2 firsts. Not necessarily back to back. Maybe this year and 2 years from now.
I would do Kirk a first and a second. I don't know if I'd go 2 firsts and Kirk.
I don't know if the Texans are. I mean, the Texans are going to be going bananas over a first and a second and Kirk Cousins for a top 5 quarterback who's younger.
It really all depends on how unhappy Deshaun is.
Colin Sexton is popping off right now. What is happening? Sorry.
If I'm the Texans, I'm not giving him up. And I'm telling him.
I think that destroys your locker room, man. I mean, you're literally going nuclear. That just means you have to blow everything up. You're telling Deshaun Watson you can burn this all to the ground.
Yep. I would.
But no one wins. Both of you lose.
4,800 yards, 33 touchdowns,
he
7
loses.
interceptions on a bad team.
I guess
love it.
He doesn't lose in terms of money and his career accomplishments in terms of statistics, but he loses on winning, and the team also will lose on winning.
Listen, you're never. What is the chances that they find another quarterback as talented as him?
Low.
So if you can't win with that talent at quarterback, how many years is it going to take for you to start winning with a quarterback?
But that's why you
have
to hit the reset button, man.
I hate reset buttons.
You have to. What are you going to do?
I have no clue, but we will figure it out. We'll take a week to think about it, and maybe we'll get back to you guys next week. Once again, thank you for listening to this show. And we look forward to talking to you guys next week. Goodbye.